I'd love to tell you all about the best vacations I ever had in my entire life. You won't believe it, but I actually discovered an island inhabited only by beautiful, stunning girls. It sounds insane, and perhaps even impossible, but I spent the best 3 days of my life in that place. The thing is, it's really exclusive, and it's super hard getting tickets to it. You have to buy them in advance and cross your fingers that they haven't completed the male quota for that year. So yeah, it's not easy getting in there. But if you ever manage to book a flight there, it'll be so worth your while. So I was trying to figure out where to take my annual vacation when classes ended. I had been super stressed all year long since there'd been so many exams to study for. Since I only got straight A's, my parents told me they'd pay for any trip I decided to take as a vacation. But I only could go away for a few days since they also asked me to join them on a family vacation. But before we move on, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and activate the notification bell. This will let you live 20 amazing years longer. Trust me, it works. I couldn't say no to that because I do love my parents and they were paying for my own trip. So I had to decide on a place where I could stay a handful of days and really enjoy my stay there. Honestly, I didn't know where to go. I don't travel a lot and I mostly go to the same location every single summer, my parents' beach house. It's a lovely place, don't get me wrong, but after like 20 years of going there every single year, I wanted a little change, especially for my first vacation all on my own. So I began asking around and requesting advice on what place I could visit for 2 or 3 days. There were so many ideas thrown my way, and most sounded super fun. I began making a list, but suddenly, one of my friends called me to talk about this incredible location. His name's Mark, and he explained that it was kind of a big secret, so we needed to get together at his place to speak about it. I thought it was a joke or something, but I wanted to hang out with my friend. So I agreed to go over, and we ordered takeout. While we chatted and ate dinner, he explained that there was this super exclusive island that only accepted a certain number of men every single year. The beaches are gorgeous, he explained. The sand is white and clean. Everyone is so friendly. But the very best part is that all the people living there are women. I laughed and rolled my eyes. Of course, that was a complete lie, and I called him out on it. "Come on, Mark, I don't believe you. Quit messing with me," I said, still laughing. "No, I'm serious. It's a very exclusive island, so it's not strange you don't know about it. It's sort of a refuge for women. They like having a few men there every few weeks, but not all the time. No man is allowed to actually move to the island." At first, I really didn't believe him. I mean, it sounded absolutely insane, like some wild dream of a guy with too much imagination. But bit by bit, he began convincing me that perhaps it could be true. He had been there the previous year and actually had booked a spot this year, but he couldn't go. Mark got himself a girlfriend, and if she found out that he was traveling to an island like that, she'd completely flip out. I never told her a damned thing about it, so you have to keep your mouth shut or you'll get me in so much trouble, he told me. So Mark offered to give me his spot, but I had to pay for the plane ticket and the hotel expenses. I was excited about it, but wasn't sure if I should believe him or not. It sounded too good to be true. But Mark was an amazing friend, and he wouldn't make me lose my vacation just to play a prank on me. So I agreed and used the money my parents had given me to pay for the trip. I would be leaving in a few days, and as the day approached, I got more and more nervous, if I have to be honest. I was both worried this would all be a silly lie and that it would be true. If it was a lie, I would have wasted my time and money. And if it was true, was I ready to be the only guy on an island filled with gorgeous women? It sounded so intimidating. So the day finally arrived, and I was so anxious. I had my bag prepared and arrived at the airport a bit earlier than I had to, honestly. So I decided to relax by listening to some music. When the time to board the plane got closer, I was surprised to see that everyone waiting for that plane were in fact women. There wasn't another single guy there. Not one. Just me. I got on the plane with all those gorgeous girls. They were all over 18 and some as old as 40, but every single one of them was super hot. I couldn't quite believe it. My friend was telling me the truth, it seemed. The women in the plane were staring at me and I laughed nervously, not really knowing what to say. Finally, one of them spoke up. "Hi, what are you doing here?" she asked. "Well, I'm going to the all-girls island," I replied, blushing furiously. She laughed and a group of girls her age chuckled as well. "You aren't ready for all the fun you'll have there," she squealed and continued to laugh. It seemed they were used to messing with guys who got on the plane and seemed a bit nervous. We got talking, and they were super nice. They all lived on the island and were coming back after visiting some family. "So why do you want to live there, away from all men?" I asked, trying not to be too blunt about it. "Well, we like men. We like being around men too. But we prefer living in a stress-free place where we feel safe all year round. When we want to see our brothers, fathers, and male friends, we just travel back to the mainland. It's that simple. And if we ever want to start a family or go back to a normal life, we just move out," the girl explained. I was really impressed and couldn't believe that a place like that could really exist. But the girls couldn't also be messing with me, right? I still sort of believed this was all just a publicity stunt or some kind of elaborate prank. When we landed, I headed over to my hotel room straight away. I was super tired from the long trip. I wanted to take a nap and then go have dinner. In my mind, all of this was kind of BS, and I'd go out at night and see lots of guys hanging around. It just sounded so good to be true. But at the same time, I was sort of starting to believe it myself. I just didn't want to get disappointed when it turned out to be a complete lie. I really couldn't stop thinking about it, I'll be honest. So when I fell asleep, I began having this amazing dream. In my mind, I walked through a gorgeous beach filled with beautiful women and no one else. Not a single guy in sight, except me. All the girls stared my way, thrilled that I was there. They began running toward me and screamed my name. They were so happy to see me and began jumping on me. It was the most amazing feeling in the entire world. I couldn't get enough of it, and I embraced them, accepting the attention they were lavishing on me. I slept all through the night, having these amazing dreams, and so I kind of missed dinner. That was okay, because what happened next was almost as incredible as the dream itself. I woke up with loud knocks on my door. I got dressed and opened it, wondering if perhaps something was wrong or I had to change rooms or something. To my surprise, there were a bunch of stunning girls, all dressed in cute bikinis, smiling brightly at me. "Hi," they squealed. "You've been hiding in your room all night. We heard you landed last night." I asked them how they knew when I had landed, and they all giggled together. "Because you are this month's guy," they told me like it was obvious. "We always know in what plane the guy of the month is coming, silly." I couldn't believe it. Could this actually be true? "Anyways, we're having a beach party and we'd love for you to join us," another girl said, and I couldn't stop staring at them. They were all so beautiful. "Yeah, I'd love to go. Give me 5 minutes and I'll be there," I replied, and they left, waving at me and asking me not to take long. I changed into my swimsuit and rushed downstairs and out onto the beach. Much to my shock, there wasn't a single man in sight. It was all real. This truly was an island inhabited only by women. I was amazed by how gorgeous all the women there were, and they were all into me. It was as if I was some kind of prize or gift or something like that. Insane, right? It really was a dream come true. There was music playing and drinks were flowing. I danced with all the girls there and kept on being called to do stuff all around the beach. I played volleyball, I swam in the sea, I enjoyed a delicious barbecue, I danced some more. All the girls were so flirty and friendly, and I was really having the time of my life. Things were about to get even better, if you can even believe it. I was dancing with a group of cute girls when someone grabbed my hand. I turned around and saw the most gorgeous woman I had ever laid eyes on standing right there. She had long, wavy red hair and big brown eyes, and her body was kicking. Believe me, I couldn't stop staring, but she didn't mind at all. "Hi, my name is Sasha," she introduced herself. When I told her my name, she laughed and said, "I know, you're the talk of the town." I laughed at this and told her I supposed I was. After all, being the only boy there did gather a lot of attention. "I'd like to go back with you to your hotel room," she said, smiling sensually, and I couldn't believe my good luck. I immediately agreed and we rushed to the hotel. Once there, we began kissing and making out. One thing led to the other, and, well, you can imagine what happened. The next 2 days on the island were also amazing, but I'll admit that I spent most of my time with Sasha. She was incredible, and I was head over heels for her. Still, the time to leave arrived all too soon, and I had to take a flight back home. Believe me when I say I didn't want to go back. Sasha promised to come to visit me when she left the island to see her family. When I arrived back home, I called Mark to tell him all about my time in that magical island. "You were telling the truth. I still can't believe it. Thank you so much for recommending the island and helping me get there. I think I'll be going back next year," I told him. "Don't forget to book your trip in advance. It's not easy getting in," he told me, happy for me. Sasha is coming over to visit next month, and honestly, I can't wait. I haven't been able to stop thinking about her and the island since I went there. Thank you for watching. What would you do if you discovered an island filled only with beautiful girls or handsome guys? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on the channel.
Hey, Talia, how did you enjoy my party last night? Randy asked. Oh, you weren't there. That's right, because I don't hang with losers. But guess who was there? Ronaldo, my soon-to-be boyfriend, she said as she smacked the books from my hands and then walked away, cackling with her friends. Hi, my name is Talia. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Oh yeah, and hit that notification bell to get these amazing stories first. If you do, you'll find the person of your dreams. You would think that all the mean girls would have stayed in high school, but no, some of them follow you to college as well. I was looking forward to the upcoming summer break where I could get away from Randy. I already knew what I wanted to do to pass my time. While scrolling through my social media, I came across this new reality TV series, Island Troopers, that was set to be taped somewhere in the South Pacific Islands. Wouldn't it be lovely to be stuck on an island with Ronaldo Castine? Who is Ronaldo, you ask? Only the most handsome, adventurous troop leader of the Cub Scouts my brother Davian ever had. Before collecting my brother after a meeting one afternoon, I went to the bathroom, and when I came out the stall, there stood Randy leaning against the bathroom door. Do you really think you have a chance with Ronaldo? She snarled. Randy was also a troop leader. Move, I demanded coldly. Who's going to make me? Randy said as she placed her hands on her hips. As I stepped towards Randy with my fist balled tightly, the bathroom door opened. Oh, there you are, Randy, Mrs. Walker, the head of the Cub Scouts, said. I need you to help me finish planning our retreat over the summer break. Why, sure, Mrs. Walker, Randy said in a fake, innocent voice. I watched as Randy turned and walked away behind Mrs. Walker. Eventually, I found my little brother, and Ronaldo was there too, waving goodbye to the kids of the Cub Scouts. I immediately felt my knees go weak. Hey, Ronaldo, I said nervously. Have you ever heard of Island Troopers? No, he said. It's a reality show where you and another person would be stranded on an island. I've already signed up and I was wondering if you'd like to partner with me. We have a chance of winning $2 million. I said hopefully. I'm not sure whether I want to spend my vacation on a deserted island when there are so many other things to do. But wouldn't it be an awesome story to come back and tell your troops how you roughed it out on an island and how you put all your training from the Scouts to use? I think the boys would really be impressed. Wouldn't you be, Derek? I spun around to my little brother who nodded enthusiastically. I could see the wheels in Ronaldo's head spinning as he was trying to weigh the pros and cons. Okay, I'll go. Ronaldo smiled. He gave me his number and told me to send him all the details. We said goodbye and I drove out the car park. Now I have to convince my mom and dad, I thought to myself. That night during dinner, I casually brought up the topic of me wanting to spend summer on a deserted island with a friend of mine. Think about it. I could win $1 million, which means I could pay my own college fees. I told my parents. So, who would you be going to this island with? My mother quizzed. She's going with Ronaldo, my brother said, making kissing noises. That is totally out of the question, my father said, slamming his fist down on the table. Dad, it's no big deal, I said and further explained. I told my parents that a camera crew would be there, so no funny business would take place with Ronaldo and I. What I didn't tell them was the camera crew would only be around a few hours a day. I also assured them that anytime I wanted to quit, that I would be allowed to do so and come home. My parents told me that they would think about it, and they changed the conversation. The next day, I didn't think anything of it when my parents said they were going to pick Derek up from his meeting. I was actually happy since I was behind on a few assignments, and I was glad that I didn't have to stop what I was doing. When he got home, Derek knocked on my door and poked his head around the door. Mom and Dad had a little chat with Ronaldo. He smiled and walked away. I shot up from my desk and ran to Derek's room and closed the door behind me. What did Mom and Dad say? What did Ronaldo do? I was almost too afraid to ask. Well, first, Mom asked Ronaldo what he planned to do with her baby girl all alone on an island, and if he planned to make them grandparents. Then Dad told Ronaldo that he knew where he lived, and he had no problem paying him a visit if he laid a finger on you, my brother said, before laughing hysterically. My heart sank, and I felt a part of me die that day. I was so embarrassed, but the thought of Ronaldo and I on a deserted island without Randy brought a smile to my face. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. I could call Ronaldo tomorrow and straighten everything out. The next day, I called Ronaldo, who was actually amused by what my parents did. He said I was lucky to have parents who actually cared about what happened to me. We laughed about it and then we chatted for a few minutes before we hung up. My parents also confirmed that I would be allowed to go on the show. It was the best day ever. That night, I dreamt that Ronaldo and I were stranded on an island. I was sipping on a coconut while cooking fish over a fire. Ronaldo was in the water, his shirt off, as the setting sun glistened over his muscular body as he caught the fish with his bare hands. Finally, the day had arrived and I bid my brother and parents goodbye on the dock. I walked over to meet Ronaldo and we boarded the ferry with the crew and the other members of the TV show. It took us a few days before we got to the islands, and those few days were fabulous. The last night on the ferry, we signed waivers saying that we weren't to interact with the camera crew unless it was a life or death situation. The camera crew would film us for 6 hours per day. Once we got to the island, we had a choice of waiting for a rescue team to come and get us, or we could quit along the way if it became too much for us. We would also be supplied with water, but we would have to source our own food and shelter. There were also a few bags stored on the island, one particularly with supplies from the TV show. The ferry docked at each island, and the director called the names of each team to get off. Ronaldo and I were the last team to get off the ferry. It took us about 10 minutes to get to swim to the island. I dragged myself onto the island, and I lay on the hot sand. That was the longest 10 minutes of my life. After we rested for a few minutes, we decided that we needed to find the backpacks to see if we could use anything from them as well as the survival backpack. After searching for a while, we found a backpack. It belonged to a man, and I didn't care. I just needed to get out of the wet clothes that I was in. In the backpack was a bag of chocolates. I never enjoyed chocolates so much. After that swim, I was starving. We found one bag. I think maybe we should find shelter and then look for lunch. Ronaldo nodded in agreement. He swung the bag off his shoulder, and we began to scout the land for shelter. Luckily, we found a little wooden hut that wasn't too far from a stream. The roof of the hut needed to be patched at the top, but it would do. We just hoped that it didn't rain. The crew followed us from the time we got to the island. When they finished up for the day and told us we would see them tomorrow, I felt relieved. As soon as the camera crew left, Ronaldo complained about being too hot, and he said he would be inside the hut taking a rest, and if I needed him, that's where he would be. I shrugged and walked out the hut. I decided to do some exploring of my own. My first mission was to locate the survival bag that the crew hid. I walked further into the forested area of the island, making sure to keep tabs of how to get back. The sun peeked through the trees, and suddenly, there was a dark spot. I looked up and spotted a black duffel bag between the trees. I climbed the tree, and immediately I felt my skin being infested by ants. Oh, great, I said sarcastically. This tree is full of ants. I got the bag, and with it a few bites as well. I slung it around my shoulder and climbed down. I took a tin of tuna, once on the ground, and ate it quickly. Should I carry the bag back to camp? I spoke to myself. I thought long and hard and decided against it. However, I did take a few necessities that I thought would help with our survival. I also found a more suitable place to store the bag as well. By the time I got back, Ronaldo was up. "Where have you been?" Ronaldo asked with a raised eyebrow. Well, while some of us were able to get some beauty rest, some of us decided to actually do some work to ensure that we have a fighting chance to win this thing, I said, annoyed. I inhaled deeply. Look, in order for us to win this, we need to work together. I was able to find a few things that were scattered about the trees. I showed Ronaldo the things that I brought back, but instead of saying thank you, he huffed. And without a word, Ronaldo walked out of the hut and into the forested area. A few seconds after Ronaldo left, I heard a shout. My heart leapt into my throat as I ran out of the hut and towards the sound of the scream. I saw Ronaldo looking as though he saw a ghost. "Ronaldo?" I asked once I was next to him. "What is it?" "I just saw a snake." "I hate snakes," Ronaldo said coldly. My jaw dropped. "What?" Yes, I heard what he said, but I couldn't believe it. You came to a deserted island and you were afraid of snakes? What did you expect to find here? Fluffy bunny rabbits and unicorns? I asked, looking at him with a puzzled look on my face. That night I went to bed with hopes that the following day would be better than our first day. Boy, was I wrong. Ronaldo complained about everything. The sun was too hot. The fish were too small. There were too many mosquitoes. Ronaldo complained more than he helped me get anything done. Then to top it off, he sprained his ankle while trying to pick coconuts from one of the trees closer to the shore. The idea of whisking away with Ronaldo and having a great time was quickly unraveling before my eyes. This wasn't as romantic as I hoped. Of course, he played his role well in front of the camera, But once we were alone, the true Ronaldo appeared, as though he had split personalities. One morning, I just couldn't accept Ronaldo's bad attitude anymore, and I decided to take a walk. After walking a little way from the hut, I realized that I forgot my knife and turned back to get it. As I was approaching the hut, I saw Ronaldo coming out of the hut and walking perfectly fine on both feet. I followed him and watched as he ran towards the ocean and dove in. That little trickster. I fumed. He was just faking a sprained ankle, and he had me doing all the fishing and even the patching of the hut alone. Well, let's see what little Mr. Trickster will eat for the rest of the day. I decided that I would not go back to the hut till that night, since there was still a few tins of food in the survival bag. Today, I would just lounge by the stream and relax. By nightfall, I returned to the hut. Hello? Is anyone there? I called as I rubbed the back of my head to ensure I played the role well. I watched as Ronaldo limped out of the hut. Talia, where have you been? I'm starving, he said. Do I know you? Well, where am I? I asked. The last thing I remember was walking to the stream. I must have slipped and fallen backwards. My voice trailed off. When I woke up, I followed the trail back to here. Ronaldo told me how we came to the island. He also gave me his version of what happened since we had been on the island, including him saving me from a snake and spraining his ankle along the way. I mustered everything up inside, not to roll my eyes as he told his made-up story. Then he said something that knocked the wind out of me. My boyfriend told me that this was a bad idea. Ronaldo sighed. I felt my jaw drop. You have a boyfriend? Yeah, why? He asked. I gulped. Is there any way to get off this island? The next day, Ronaldo spoke with the camera crew. It wasn't long before a rowboat came along and we were heading home. I felt as though I wasted the last 14 days of my life. I never dropped my brother off to meetings again, and before I crushed on anyone again, I decided to do a little background research before I did anything crazy.
Hi, my name is Felicity, and you won't believe what happened to me. A few months ago, I was actually stranded on a deserted island with no one around to help me. Now, you may think I'm blowing this way out of proportion. Surely there were a few native people there to give me a helping hand or something, right? No, there was no one there. It was a small island, only a few acres wide, and I was the only living soul there. Okay, to be fair, there were a few other creatures there, like a few chickens and a handful of cats, and I think that I saw a goat or two, but that's it. And they didn't help me at all, mind you. So let me tell you how I got stranded on that island in the middle of nowhere and how I finally managed to go back to society. Every single summer, we went for vacations to an exotic and fun destination. We couldn't settle where to go that year, so my parents decided to go on a short getaway while we chose the place we'd enjoy for a few weeks. Perhaps Thailand or Paris? We really all wanted to visit a different location, so it was a bit of an issue. My parents found this amazing island far from civilization. It was really secluded and also privately owned by a friend of our family. We rented it from him during an entire weekend so that we could enjoy some time together away from other people and even technology. You see, when I say this place is isolated, I really do mean it. I'm kind of addicted to my cell phone, being a teenage girl, and can't go more than a few minutes without it. Mom and Dad are always super busy, so they really look forward to our vacations together. They are really loving parents, and I know they cherish me, but I still rarely get to see them at all during the week. So I did like the idea of being around them for a few days, but the concept of going without my cell phone terrified me. I really didn't know if I could make it. My parents told me that I didn't really have an alternative. They could discuss with me where we'd go on our long vacation, but this weekend was going to happen whether I liked it or not. I resigned myself to go without technology and accepted what they told me. After all, I was going to be there even if I was in a bad mood. Might as well enjoy myself, right? The only way to get to the island was by helicopter or boat, and it was hard finding it too, so it wasn't as if anyone could just sail to it. At times, I wondered what would happen if someone got stranded there. My parents explained that even though there was no cell phone coverage or TV there, they had satellite phones. In order to keep me from using them, though, they had asked their friend to put a code on them. So even if there was a way of communicating with the outside world, I didn't know the password to use it. It kind of annoyed me, but I understood why my parents were doing this. After all, we really didn't hang out at all most of the year, and they were looking forward to spending some time with their only daughter. I decided to make the best of that situation and just have a good time with my mom and dad. When we got there, I was so shocked to discover that there wasn't even any electricity. I was stunned. Thank heavens there was running water at least. I would have died if I had to go to the bathroom outside among the foliage. They explained that the owner of the island liked not to have any distractions when he visited his property. It was his only retreat from the busy life he led every single day. So there were only books to read, and there was a beautiful view of the ocean. There were also a few chickens in a big pen, and then 2 goats that he had decided to keep on his island. Also 2 beautiful tabby cats. Someone apparently went over every single week to check on the animals, though most of the feeding was done through machines. Now, the island was really stunning. It had a small wooded area and a large and gorgeous beach. The sand was perfectly white and the water as blue as the sky. There were exotic fish swimming around the coast, and you could swim among them. It was truly so beautiful, I couldn't believe it. I sunbathed with my mom and went swimming with my dad. We had a bonfire the first night and sang songs around the fire. It was so much fun. And so relaxing, too. I got to explore the small forest and even play with the goats. They were so friendly and cute. Clearly, they were used to being around humans. Really, they behaved more like pets than farm animals. They were so much fun to have around. I even considered asking my mom to get me one for my birthday. She said she'd think about it. We even went fishing, and we actually cooked the ones we managed to catch. It was so delicious. I had never had such a meal. Dad was really proud of me, and we all had a lot of quality time together. Sunday finally arrived. We were supposed to leave really early in the morning since the helicopter would be there to pick us up shortly after sunrise. Dad had a big meeting a few hours later, and he didn't want to miss it. I honestly protested a bit since I didn't want to wake up so early, but there was no changing that meeting. So my mom reminded me before bedtime to set my alarm clock and not to stay in bed longer than 6:20 a.m. The thing is, I stayed up really late enjoying the stars, and we had been swimming all day long. I was really exhausted and didn't feel like waking up. There is something you should know about me. Though I'm usually very obedient when it comes to my parents, I am somewhat lazy in the morning. Okay, no, not kinda lazy, very, very lazy. It takes me forever to get out of my bed when I wake up, and even longer to get dressed. I can't function like a normal person when I've just woken up. This has always really annoyed my parents, and they've tried almost everything to get me to change my attitude. They've scolded me, they've grounded me, they've talked to me and tried to bargain. They even offered me extra allowance if I woke up earlier in the mornings. I really did try, but it was impossible. Nothing worked. So I decided to stop trying, and that made them get really mad with me. I knew they'd get cross with me for oversleeping, but that was the way I was, and it was the only thing I couldn't change. Morning arrived, and I didn't wake up when my alarm went off. My mom decided to give me one more chance and came into my room to tell me that I needed to get up. I ignored her and kept sleeping. My bed was so comfortable, and I didn't want to move at all. She left the room, and I thought she had just given up like she did so many times before. I never imagined she was actually leaving the island for good. When I woke up about 10 a.m., I walked outside lazily and called for my mom. I figured she was still waiting for me and that Dad had left early for his meeting. No one answered my calls. So I began walking around the island, wondering where she might be. She wasn't on the beach or in the woods. She wasn't near the goats either. She was nowhere to be seen. So I decided to go into her bedroom, and then I realized my parents had done the unthinkable. Their clothes weren't there, and neither was their luggage. They had actually left me there, all alone on a deserted island. I mean, sure, there was the villa for me to sleep in, but that was it. There wasn't even a single person around, and I couldn't call anyone for help. I didn't even know the code to the satellite phone. I completely freaked out and began calling out for help. Though I understood that no one was around to hear me, I couldn't help myself. How would you have reacted? I was so scared and worried. There was no way for me to let someone else know I was there, and no way to contact someone to come rescue me. My parents had abandoned me there, and I didn't know when they'd be coming back. I began collecting stones, and when I had enough, I began writing a big SOS sign on the coast. I had to keep going back to grab new rocks since there weren't enough. By the time the sun began to set, I was utterly exhausted. My legs were so cramped since I worked so hard all day collecting heavy stones and walking around the island in a panicked state. I tried in vain to build a little boat. I really attempted to do it, but it was useless. I didn't have the experience to get it done, and I was really clumsy too. So I really failed at that. I had worked for hours on it, and my arms hurt by the time I decided it was a lost cause. I even tried to figure out the code to the satellite phone. You can imagine that didn't work at all either. The previous night, I had thought that the island was absolutely gorgeous, but when the sun set while I was alone, something changed. The lack of electricity was a real problem, and the darkness was completely terrifying. I began hearing all kinds of creepy sounds that probably weren't even there. I wanted to cry and locked myself up in my bedroom. You can imagine that I didn't get to sleep at all that night. I was so happy when the sun finally rose on the horizon. Imagine my relief when I heard the helicopter landing on the shore. That time I did get up from my bed in about a second and rushed toward the beach. My mom was there waiting for me in the chopper. I cried and hugged her really tightly. I begged her never to leave me alone like that again. Mom hugged me back and explained that she had done this to teach me a lesson. Believe me, I finally understood that I had to improve my behavior. I never oversleep now if I have an appointment or have to go to school. My parents are really proud of me, and they allowed me to choose our next vacation destination. I selected Thailand, and we had an amazing time there. Thanks for watching. What is the worst punishment your parents ever put you through? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on our channel.